Good evening. Good evening, future millionaires, billionaires. I just finished reading um, chapter one called The Millionaire. I can't even remember what the. Meet Your Millionaire Next Door. I believe that's what it was called. Um, Meet the Millionaire Next Door out of The Millionaire Next Door. And that chapter was amazing. Can I just say that what I found most interesting is the idea that the longer the time an individual spends, an immigrant spends in the Americas, um, the less likely his children are and future generations are to actually continue on in their family's success and legacy and even be financially free. And so it made me really wonder as to why that is. And the author speaks to the reason being that America simply is a consumption based society, that we are driven in this country to just spend, and that accumulating a whole bunch of stuff, flat screen TVs, the latest iPhones, though I'm the latest iPhones, the list goes on. The bigger and better cars, with all the latest technology and gadgets. The bigger the house, just everything of the best clothing with the name brands. Just everything about us is just so consumption oriented. And what eventually happens is because we're so consumption oriented, the more time that immigrants spend in this country, their families unfortunately pick up that negative lifestyle. Now, what I find so interesting is that America is supposed to be a capitalistic country. We have within our ability and our means and our philosophy to accumulate as much wealth as possible. And that's the driving force behind our country. And one of the number one reasons why people from all over the world, historically and until this day, still come to our country. And yet, it made me realize, and it makes me realize that so few people actually believe in that philosophy, meaning that they live in that philosophy in which they say they do. So we have really where it's just a few people, maybe the top 1%, the top 5% in this country, who actually are running off of the capitalistic model in which they're going to accumulate as much wealth as possible. So they take the risk to start these businesses, and their whole goal is to basically get rich off of us. They're taking money off of the spenders. And the rest of us, we confuse just this opportunity for consumption. No, the opportunity is supposed to be our opportunity to be able to become rich, to become capitalists, to be able to start from nothing, to be born in the lowest of the low social class and be able to rise up to the ranks of, the highest of the high social class. So that is what the opportunity really means. But somewhere along the line, we've confused opportunity in this country for consumption. That in the end, the more that we accumulate, the better our cars, the fancier our clothing, the better our hair is designed, and styled. That's truly the symbol of wealth. And what is proven in this first chapter of the book is that in the end, that the people that have all this stuff going on for themselves have the brokest bank accounts ever known to mankind. They broke. So it reminds me of this saying: "Don't try to keep up with the Joneses. The Joneses are broke." Yet most Americans don't realize the Joneses are broke. So to me, this is probably the most interesting perspective of chapter one. Um, that it's America, the almost contradictory nature of America, with one hand being this capitalistic society and this other hand of being an overconsumption based society. And to be honest, it's probably the capitalists that are driving the need quotation marks for consumption based society, because that's truly the way that they get rich. And the rest of us are sitting here confusing wealthy with consumption. So, what's the takeaway from all of this? In chapter one, it's basically showing the importance of really getting our spending under control, understanding really what are we doing with our hard-earned paychecks? Is it really that are we really living from paycheck to paycheck because we really just don't have enough to make ends meet? Or is it really our overwhelming, never-ending consumption of just accumulating more stuff that is really keeping us from being able to get a fancy page? I mean, from being able to accumulate wealth. The reason why we are not able to save and therefore not able to invest and therefore be able to use our hard-earned paycheck, our sweat and our tears and the drama that comes along with the workplace, is that the reason why we're not able to save and invest from that to go ahead and use that as a springboard to really accumulate wealth in America? So for me, that's pretty eye-opening. Pretty eye-opening, because I know for me, I've just now recently started my whole journey to financial independence. I've recognized the need for it for a while, but I didn't know how. And only recently, through really reviewing my budget and really making a budget, I realized that I did have a lot more available in my paychecks than I thought previously. And it was actually, strangely, an app called Digit that allowed me to realize that, because Digit, basically, if anybody's familiar with it, it's an app that takes out money from your paycheck little by little, from your account, little by little, that, to the point that you don't even notice it. And then when you look up in your account, maybe a few weeks from now, a month later, or whatever, then you start to see that you have these large sums of money that you didn't even know you had available in your paychecks, because you always swore that you were broke, living paycheck to paycheck. So that was my story. And then once I noticed that I was, I think one month, I think I saved like $300 or $400, which I never even swore I had $300 or $400 at the end of a paycheck, that I didn't even notice. That's the key. I didn't even notice I had that money available and didn't miss it. And then it caused me to go back and create a budget. And once I created the budget, then that's when I saw that I actually had a whole lot more money. So now that made me become more purposeful in my intents. I said, you know what? If I have the money, I'm going to go ahead and take this money. And once I learned about investing, especially in stocks, I did so that I'm going to take that money now and purposely contribute it to investing. And then once I went back to my budget and saw that I was actually spending more on student loans than I was in investing, it kind of ignited a personal challenge in me to say, nah, I'm not giving back to the Sally Mae, and more than what I'm giving to myself. So it encouraged me to go find other ways in which I can step my investing game up so that I could go ahead and make sure that I was putting more back into my own pockets than to the government, Sally Mae, student loans. Because I'm not working. I didn't take on all of these student loans to go ahead and just pay back student loans. I did all of that to go ahead and improve my financial situation. So I believe the money should go back to me. So once I did that, then it kind of challenged me to go ahead and see how else can I cut some things from my spending so I have more money to go ahead and invest and increase that. And then that made me take the first move, the big move, a move I thought I never would do, to cut my cable. That was hard, to cut my cable. And once I decided to do that, that saved me easily $150 a month. I still keep the internet because I need that. But cutting the cable easily sent me $150 a month, and now I don't miss it at all. Like, I'm wondering what took me really so long to do it. And then it forced me to look at other ways in which I can cut my spending too. So the bottom line is, it's when they say consumption really is a problem, consumption really is a problem. That most Americans, I'm almost guaranteeing, are spending a whole lot more than what they really have. And credit cards only make it that much easier, because you get a credit card, you turn around and you spend a whole lot of money that you really don't have. Then you're fighting to pay it back from money that you don't have more, and therefore you never really have anything to save. I also wonder too, if we are possibly, I know I'm guilty of this, eating out a little too much. You know, you got the Starbucks craze where people turn around and say, "Oh, it's only $5." Spending $5, but when you say spend $5 a day, you add that up. I mean, when you take that money a month and you decided to invest it, you know what that could equate to at the end of 30 years if you're making even 10%, 15%, 20% returns. I mean, it's astronomical, okay? So that's also a huge problem. And based on all of this, it's teaching me that even if I'm in the lower income, yeah, I can't say that I personally am in the lowest income. Um, make a darn good salary. Um, Not a high earner, but nonetheless a very comfortable salary. Um, Even if I was in a low income, it's making me realize that in the end, there's still some place that I can turn around and save and cut some money. And I'm almost guaranteed most Americans are in that situation. I think very few people are in a situation where they're literally living so much from paycheck to paycheck, to the point that in the end, if they decided to even save a penny, that would put them into a position in which their basic needs would not be met. I'm almost guaranteeing that most people, and I say that from past experience, most people are in a situation because something is really off or wrong with the budgets. That more than 9 times out of 10, there's a lot of over consumption that's going on. And even the little areas. I don't live in a big flashy house. I don't walk around with the biggest flashiest clothing, but I know when it comes to eating out, and my vacations and things of that nature, those were the areas. And even my own child, the amount of money I would spend on him just on a day-to-day basis, week-to-week basis. When you add those up, those things were eating out from my money significantly, and put me to the position where I felt like I was living paycheck to paycheck, to the point that it got so bad I was robbing Peter to pay Paul, and not paying one bill just to take care of another, and then getting into a hole with that and repeating the cycle. And then I would swear, oh my gosh, I just need more money coming in. And it's only recently when I realized, nah, pump my brakes. I've got more than enough money coming in. I need to change the way that I'm really working this money. And once I did, I found out I actually have a whole lot more. And I'm no longer in the position and situation I was. So this book has been really enlightening. This is just my first part of the first review of the first chapter, including the foreword and all of that, because they also made some other preface, etc. There was also some other interesting points in, but this is the point that I wanted to speak on in this book. Okay? Well, once again, I'm Carmel, giving you a review of The Millionaire Next Door, Chapter 1 about Meet Your Millionaire. And I hope you enjoyed. Please leave your comments, concerns, questions, or debates. I love debates at the bottom. Thank you. Bye-bye.